Our government team, while being the Ministry of Finance, has forgotten that fundamentally it is still part of the government. In telling us that our resources are finite, which means we have to save for a rainy day, it has forgotten that with these finite resources, the government is still supposed to not let people starve. And we've told them that. We've told them that it takes time to find work, and people need this money even if they are going to be spending time finding work under your policy. And what they told us is eventually people ought to save for a rainy day. But fact is, ladies and gentlemen, they haven't. And the thing is, in their policy, these people will starve. They are not the government, ladies and gentlemen. They are not providing for the people. Now, they've also forgotten to answer us. No, thank you, sir. They've also forgotten to answer us on our point about how people will not become unproductive because all we are providing them with is a bare standard minimum. Therefore, we assume they agree with us. And then they've come to tell us that and then, moving on to my rebuttal, they've told us that people should get employed and upgrade themselves and thereby receive financial assistance only then. Now, our question is, they never really bothered to tell us how financial assistance, only when you're employed, serves to motivate people to upgrade themselves. Further, there's also a very fundamental contradiction within this. Because when people are employed, they lose a lot of time. They have to devote a lot of time of their own to this commitment, which in our policy could be spent upgrading yourselves, which would make our workforce in the whole more productive. The way this works is simple, ladies and gentlemen. If your family is not starving while you're finding work, the time you take to find work can be used more productively with upgrading yourself, whereas in their case, your family is starving while you are finding work. Eventually, the workforce is less productive. Now, they've also told us that they are not charities, and we see a problem in this. We think that the duty of not letting people starve because of fiscal policies lies in the hands of the Ministry of Finance, whereas what they're saying suggests to us that they are shirking their responsibility entirely to charities. We aren't really the same team, ladies and gentlemen, but we don't think this is fair. Yes, Ryan?
So in today's world, companies are forced by law to offer employees which they retrenched 1 month's advance pay. Some companies offer more than this. So clearly the employees aren't going to simply starve when they're retrenched.
Now, Ryan, 1 month's advance pay might seem like a lot, but with a lot of people receiving very little income to begin with, 1 month's advance pay isn't going to be enough for you to continuously upgrade yourself to the standard at which the government themselves want. 1 month's pay is not really enough. Besides, we have the highest job mobility in the world, as Adil has already told you, which means a lot of people get retrenched every day. Now, having told you all of that, let me now move on to my substantive. My substantive will concern itself with potential immigrants as well as Singapore's ambitions. Now, as our government said, we want the most innovative ones in the region to come and lead our biopolis, and we assume the media hub as well. But crucial to all of this is a single group, that of the potential immigrants. Now, if potential immigrants, we must first tell you that we aren't really talking about work permit holders because these are contractual and short-term. What we are really discussing are really employment pass holders because these are people like creative specialists, white-collar workers in general, who true citizenship and permanent residence have the potential to benefit from financial assistance. Now, the thing about these employment pass holders is that they have talents and skills which are really desirable to Singapore in the long term, and they contribute greatly to any economy they are in. And should they accept our citizenship and consequently work in Singapore, what happens then is that their contribution to the economy would be entirely to Singapore. Now, the thing is, for them to uproot their entire family and come to Singapore to work is a big leap. A leap which necessitates that they at least have the assurance that if their employment is threatened, they still have the means to basically provide for their family, which means that they ought to get financial assistance even if they lose their employment. Which means in their case, ladies and gentlemen, our ambitions like the media hub and the biopolis will lose talent regionally because then people will be disencouraged to take up our citizenship and come to Singapore because we lack the basic social security net for those who truly, truly need it. Now, moving on to my second point, that's on entrepreneurship, which largely concerns itself with potential immigrants anyway. Because first off, entrepreneurship is a really great thing because it brings with them investment and bursts of creativity and innovation, which really leads to greater dynamism, which is something our economy greatly needs in this economic crisis. Examples of such entrepreneurs are Google and Creative. Now, but entrepreneurship is always risky. It's definitely much more risky than drawing a stable pay as an employee. Now, for one to become an entrepreneur, he needs the assurance that even if his venture fails, he will still be able to provide at least basic meals for his family, something which in their case doesn't happen and in ours happens. Now, we all agree that the government has good intentions, but as I've shown you, what they do is they cripple Singapore's ambitions and they threaten entrepreneurship, which can only bring about benefit to Singapore. They only have good intentions. Thank you.